According to U.S. Code Section 3331, Oath of Office, it says right here that an individual, except the president, we just read the president's oath, elected or appointed to an office of honor or profit in the civil service or uniform service shall take the following oath. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. That I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. That I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter, so help me God. So we see that people solemnly swear that they will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Now, isn't that something? So here again, any elected official or appointed official, anybody that receives a paycheck from the United States government in an official capacity, whether it's the secretary to the Speaker of the House of Representatives or whatever, they all have to swear that oath, and it's to protect the Constitution. Now, the Constitution is not what you think it is or what you want it to be or what you think it might have should have been or might ought to be in the future. You are swearing an oath to protect and defend the Constitution as currently written. Okay, so we can amend it. There's a whole process for that. We're not going to get into that. But when you take that oath, you're swearing to what it says now. In the state of Mississippi, which is my state, it says here for the oath of office, and this is a little bit different because this is for a state. Okay, so in the United States is a union of states. It is a union of 50 sovereign and independent states. Okay, so, but when somebody elected in the state of Mississippi, this is what they swear. And it says, I, whatever your name is, do solemnly swear, sound familiar? That I will faithfully support the Constitution of the United States. Now, wait a minute. This is for a Mississippi official. So let's just keep reading. I will faithfully support the Constitution of the United States and of the state of Mississippi. That I am not disqualified from holding office by the Constitution of this state. That I will faithfully discharge my duties as a legislator, and I will, as soon as practicable, hereafter carefully read or have read to me the Constitution of this state. And I will endeavor to note and as a legislator to execute all the requirements thereof imposed on the legislature. And I will not vote for any measure or person because of a promise to any other member of this legislature to vote for any measure or person or as a means of influencing him or them so to do. And it closes with, so help me God. So we saw that in the U.S. Code that it ends with the phrase, so help me God. Now, I thought we had separation of church and state. And yet here it tells us that we are required by constitutional law to swear this oath to protect and defend both the Constitution of the United States, which is really small, very, very limited, and it's very, very simple. And yet, the state constitution of Mississippi is a whole entire book. So, without getting into that too much, it still requires the same oath. But the states are required by law to protect the Constitution of the United States itself. So, with that in mind, a state can't make any laws that are going to contradict what is in the Constitution of the United States, because their sworn duty is to protect it. So I promised you some heavy reading today. So let's look at some heavy, heavy reading. Ugh. This monster of a book right here is called The American Dictionary of the English Language, and it was published by Noah Webster in 1828. Noah Webster is easily said he's one of the smartest founding fathers that ever was. But the importance of this book is that it defines the wording that was used by the founding fathers. A lot of the founding fathers themselves said that Noah Webster was more influential in getting the Constitution ratified in his little 53-page pamphlet than the whole entire Federalist Papers were for the state of New York. And they actively consulted Noah Webster for the constitutionality of laws more than they did any other person outside of the Constitutional Convention. So that's something to understand about this guy. He is really, really an amazing guy. But let's look at the word solemnly, because the oaths say that I solemnly swear. Okay? Right over our heads. We don't think, this is almost like reading a foreign language. And you'll understand what I say when I read it. The definition, it says solemnly is with gravity and religious reverence. Let us solemnly address the throne of grace. So this is a religious ceremony, because it says it right here. This is solemnly means with gravity and religious reverence. This oath is a solemn and religious reverence. And then we look at the word swear, and it says the definition of swear. I'm not going to pick the book up again. I want to strain myself. But it says to affirm or utter a solemn declaration with an appeal to God for the truth of what is affirmed. Then it says the way you use it in a sentence is a quote from the book of Leviticus in the Holy Bible, chapter 19. And it says, ye shall not swear in my name falsely. So here again, we see that this is a solemn and reverent thing that a person does. It also is an appeal to God himself for the truth of what is affirmed. Now, we don't think in terms of this in any way, shape, or form. We're not, this oath is not before the people. This is an oath before the Creator God himself. That the person swearing that oath is saying to the people that I understand that the seriousness and the solemnness of this oath, that I'm accountable to God himself for what I'm swearing to. Now, if you don't believe me, let's go back to the heavy reading. And we're just going to look at a simple little word here called oath. And it says, once again, an oath, this is the definition of the American language. I don't care how they define the word oath in Webster's, what do you call it? Merriam-Webster's modern dictionary or any modern dictionaries whatsoever, because they have redefined the American language. Notice I showed you that there was a verse of scripture that was used to define how the word is used in a sentence. This is the American language. This is not the English language, the international or the Oxford or anything else. This is how American language is defined. Am I clear on that? Because this is forgotten history here, folks. And when you finish reading this here, I'm going to get you to think, hopefully get you to think next time you vote for somebody. And it says, an oath is defined as a solemn affirmation or declaration made with an appeal to God for the truth of what is affirmed. An appeal to God. The appeal to God in an oath implies that the person imprecates God's vengeance, his vengeance, and renounces his favor, God's favor, if the declaration is false. Or if the declaration is a promise, the person invokes the vengeance of God if he should fail to fulfill it. See, I'm not smart enough to make this stuff up. I may be a dirt road idiot from Mississippi, but I understand how to read the English language. And when I read stuff like this, I'm just amazed at the seriousness of what we overlook. But look again, it says here, a false oath is called perjury. Now, perjury is a very serious crime. And it doesn't say that a false oath in a court of law is perjury. It says any oath that is false is perjury. Did I just read it? Did I make it up? No, I didn't. I did not make any of this stuff up. Don't give me the credit of being smart, please. I don't have an original idea in my head, but I did write a book that won an award for the best book in America on the restoration of America. And it's also certified 100% biblically and historically accurate. For more information at the end of this video, there'll be a link. But I'm going to show you something here in the Mississippi Constitution, because it says that we're supposed to swear to defend the state constitution as well as the federal constitution. But in swearing to defend the federal constitution, we can't contradict that constitution with our state constitution. You following the logic here? And I'm not going to get into the depth of all of this. I'm just giving you a brief, quick overview. But it says right here in section 18 of our state constitution, and it says that in Mississippi, and here again, it can't contradict the federal, freedom of religion. And this is in our Bill of Rights. I'm going to be doing another video on the Bill of Rights coming out real soon. But it says in the concluding clause of this, and remember, when somebody swears an oath, they swear with their hand on what book? Well, I'll tell you if you forgot. It's called this book right here, the Holy Bible. Now, this is my one, and you can see it's well worn and tore up, but you place a hand on a Holy Bible and you swear, so help me God, knowing that you're swearing, and I just showed you the definition of the words, that you understand the consequences of swearing an oath before the Creator. And if that oath is false, then you expect his vengeance to come down upon you. And also, if you swear to do something and you don't do it, it's a crime called perjury. Now, what I'm going to show you here is a bombshell, and it is a major bombshell, and it'll take 6 or 7 years maybe for you to wrap your head around this one. But this clause is required by Article 4, Section 3 of the U.S. Constitution for statehood and education. And it's also cited by the United States Supreme Court in this monumental case here called Holy Trinity v. U.S. And that book that was such a monumental case that the Supreme Court wrote that book there called The United States, a Christian Nation, to explain to the American people the ruling that they made on that case. And this was taught in the universities of America for quite some time. But anyway, it says that you can't exclude the Holy Bible from use in any public school in this state. Did you hear what I just read, folks? You can't exclude the Holy Bible from use in any public school in this state. Now, that can't contradict the United States Constitution and be constitutional. And that book that I just showed you quoted that as fulfillment for statehood in Article 4, Section 3 of the U.S. Constitution. You can't have a public school that doesn't teach the Bible in the schools. And you think we're having trouble today? Here's what George Washington said about it. And it's in this little Constitution book here. And it says, of all the dispositions and habits which lead to political prosperity, this is President George Washington in his farewell address, warning Americans of the importance of honoring their oath to the Constitution that those guys had put together. Of all the dispositions and habits which lead to political prosperity, religion and morality are indispensable supports. In vain would that man claim the tribute of patriotism who should labor to subvert these great pillars of human happiness, these firmest props of the duties of men and citizens. The mere politician, equally with the pious man, ought to respect and cherish them. What? The pillars, the foundation of American constitutionalism is religion and morality. Let it simply be asked, where is the security for property, for reputation, for life, if the sense of moral and religious obligation desert the oaths, which are the instruments of investigation in courts of justice? Folks, we have a long way to go to get back to thinking with those simple truths in mind. But if we're going to restore America, if we're going to make America great again, like so many people are saying, then we've got to understand the importance and the gravity of the oath of office the way I just described it. Now, I have a whole entire chapter in my book that goes through The oath of office for all the 13 colonies, how they developed from the very first settlement all the way up to the Constitution and the original constitutions thereafter. And the oath of office sounds like a freaking sermon in most of them, instead of these little bitty things here, so help me God. But anyway, I think I've given you enough to chew on today. So think about this as you go about your everyday walk. And we just had local elections here in Mississippi for our states. I mean, our cities. And the guy that I sponsored for our mayor, I sat down with him over a cup of coffee. And I said, I've been asked by a number of your constituents to sit down with you and ask you one simple question. They all know the question that I'm going to ask you. And every politician that I ever come across, I ask them the same question. Will you honor your oath of office once you get elected? Because I'm going to show you something in our state constitution that you're going to swear to uphold and do. And if you don't do it, then I'm going to come to you in your public forums and ask you publicly why you have not honored your oath of office. And I showed him that clause in the Mississippi Constitution. I said, you're the head of the public education system for our town. Are you going to honor your oath and put this book in the classroom? And he looked at me and he goes, oh my God, I've never seen that in my life. And I said, and yet, my friend, you are going to put your hand on a holy Bible and you're going to swear to do it. So what are you going to do? So, he won. He actually won. And so hopefully he'll honor his oath. I'm not going to mention any names or the town, or because I don't even live in the town. I live out in the woods. But anyway, think about it. Think about the gravity of an oath and how simple the Constitution really, really is of the United States of America. And that's the only thing that our elected officials swear to do, is to defend that document against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. And I'm here to tell you, folks, the domestic enemies are our biggest problem today, because we've been de-educated out of the simple understanding of an oath of office. Amen. God bless. Look forward to hearing from you soon. Bye for now.